Courtney, thank you very much for joining me today. Really lovely to have you on and chat. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks, and thank you for joining me. I'm looking
Good.
forward to chatting. I'm going to begin where I always do with every guest. I think people are probably sick of me saying this thing now. I think I'm probably so predictable, but it's what I like to know. Where did everything kind of begin for you in music then, Courtney?
Yeah, that's always a really tough question, isn't it? Because I feel like it's always been something that I've loved. I definitely was never like a child singing prodigy, that's for sure. Everyone was always like, "Oh my God, Courtney, shut up." Um, but I was always like such a massive music enthusiast. And funny enough, I actually went and seen the Amy Winehouse documentary, not documentary, the new Amy Winehouse film, Back to Black, today. It kind of got us thinking about when I first got Frank. I think that was one of the first albums that my mom and dad like ever bought us, like one of the first CDs. And then it got us thinking about what were like my first albums that I'd totally like fallen in love with. And I remember Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette being like my absolute all-time fave. And I remember I had some friends over. I was about six, and I had some friends over from school, and I was like, I listen to this album 24/7. And then my friend was like, well, no, you don't, because you sleep some of that and you're at school some of that time. And I was like, oh God, I've been caught out. She's right. I don't listen to it 24/7. But it felt like I did. I was constantly like, getting CDs and just like completely like devouring like everything that they had to offer, like reading the lyric booklet, learning all the lyrics from it, bashing it, listening on repeat. So I've always just loved music, and my dad used to go take us to see Stiff Little Fingers every year from us being like 12 onwards. I don't know if you know who Stiff Little Fingers
Yeah,
are, but they're like proper old school punk band. So from that, I absolutely love that. And I went and seen them every year from being 12. And I still try and go see them every year now if I can. I love them. And then from there, that led to us getting into things like The Clash and Blondie, and the Specials, and kind of really finding my influences. And then started, as everyone does, like diving into the depth of YouTube and finding Fleetwood Mac and Cyndi Lauper. And all that kind of stuff, and then David Bowie. And then that's kind of like when I started to really get into like vintage clothes. And my mom and dad started like taking us to Camden, and I was like, oh my God, like look at all these vintage clothes. So then started to get like a huge vintage clothes collection, and like playing about with my image and going like, oh God, like music's actually this whole world of creativity where I can like do gigs and and videos and mess about with my image and my clothes and make songs and stuff like that. So that's when I realized it was like this really cool creative thing that I could also make. So instead of just admiring all these people that I loved, like, oh, I could do something like that. Definitely nowhere near like as great as David Bowie. But I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I was always like super creative ever since I was a kid. And I was always like making up stupid little songs about like bunny rabbits when I was like 6 or 7 and writing poems and stuff like that. So that's when I started to like take up the guitar and really kind of like want to be in control of, or just feeling like I had the instruments there to write my own songs and build them up and stuff. So I remember like learning a few chords, and then I could put some of the lyrics I was writing to the guitar chords, and obviously they were completely shit for such a long time. I definitely didn't pick up a guitar and write like the world's best song or anything. No, like Kate Bush when she's like, I think she's like 14 when she wrote Child in His Eyes. Um I think yeah, there was nothing like that going on. It was like really bad, but it was something I was really passionate about, and was like, oh, there's something I really want to work at. Um and then I like just met people. There was like youth clubs like around where I lived. And I would go there and there'd be like a little studio, and I recorded my first like electronic pop EP. Obviously I didn't have a clue what my sound was or anything like that. And that took me actually a really long time to find because my influences were so broad. I like really didn't know what type of music I I wanted to make. So for a long time, it was just experimenting and learning and growing and like doing gigs and working with like other musicians and collaborating, working with songwriters, working with producers. And I'd done some stuff that I liked and I'd released some stuff, but I definitely felt like I'd never found my sound. So it kind of was a case of I felt like over lockdown, I kind of started getting really hands-on with production and like Logic. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I feel like I can really take control of my sound and just really figure it out. So having all that time in lockdown when the world basically like shut down, although something really awful was going on outside my house, I felt like something really good was going on inside of my house. And if I could just live in my brain and try stuff out and create and write songs. And that's when I really felt like, oh my God, I'm in control of this. This is like it just opens up this whole world where oh, I can write a song in a day and then I can record it and I can be dancing to it by 8 o'clock at night. This is cool. Instead of just like having a shitty like voice memo on your phone. Um, so I like to, oh my God, my phone just gone off. I like to write and record and demo everything in like a day. So yeah, that's kind of I've completely waffled on there and probably give you far too much information. But that's kind of like where it all started then till now.
We will come back to the music in a minute, of course, but I think I think it sounds like you had a total eclectic mix of influences. If you had like Amy Winehouse and Alanis Morissette to the likes of Stiff Little Fingers and the Clash, who were like pure punk.
hmm Yeah, it was totally a mix match, but I feel like what was the theme that linked all these things were together is genre aside, era aside, I don't give a shit if it's old or it's new. Um, if it came out yesterday or if it came out 60 years ago, if it's a rock band, if it's a punk band, if it's a ska band, if it's a pop band, I just love great songwriting. And I think
Yeah.
if the song is there and the substance is there, and it's like that's just a fucking undeniable great song, I'll love it. Like if I relate to it and it makes us feel something, or even if the production's like shit hot, I'm like, I'm into this. It's cool.
So I'm guessing you like songs on the writing then.
Sorry, so what do you mean?
I know you said about if the production's shit. So do you go more off like if you like the songwriting? I'm guessing then.
Yeah, like both. I think both really. I think if it's a great song, it stands up on its own, however it's presented really. But I do also love kind of like really cool just if something's produced really well or it's like a bit wacky or a bit different or something that like pricks your ear up, it catches us. So I think yeah, songwriting and stuff with cool production, but it's definitely the song over everything.
I think it's really good having an eclectic mix because I certainly speak for myself. I like a lot of different things too, and I bet it's kind of nice because you can kind of look at like if you almost get a bit bored of something, you can look towards something else as well,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
rather
It's
than
good.
being like stuck to one thing essentially.
Yeah, and I think it's so limiting, isn't it, to just like one genre. And it's almost like I hate music snobbery and I hate the ideas of like guilty pleasures because it's like, well, nothing should be guilty in music. Like if you like it, you like it. And it doesn't matter if people think it's cool or if it's twig or if it's like whatever. It's just if you like it, you like it. And it just shouldn't matter. And at the end of the day, all genres borrow from each other anyways. It all comes from the same place eventually. Just kind of if you backdated it, it all comes from a tiny little speck and it just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a
I've
lot
had
of
a glass of wine.
crossing over, isn't there? So of course, you did tell me about COVID. I mean, I totally agree with you. I spoke with a few people about this a terrible time, but if you're a creative person, it was kind of a blessing in disguise. I like to say, I know, I always speak for myself when I say I probably wouldn't started of doing the stuff I do if it wasn't for COVID
Oh,
than
really?
having time to think. So I think it was like you say, it was a good thing if you were like a creative person almost.
Yeah, I feel like that's when I became super grateful because there's so many people that maybe aren't creative in the same way as us. Sometimes people are like, my dad, for example, he's creative in the way that he likes to go build things and he's very like hands-on, but that type of creativity didn't lend itself very well to COVID when you're stuck
Yeah.
in the house. So there's a lot of people I knew that were just like sat watching the telly and like playing Xbox because I do believe everyone's creative and has some kind of like creativity they can tap into. Maybe they just don't know what it is or what makes them tick or whatever. But I just felt really grateful during that time to go, oh my God, the thing that I love doing the most, I can do it in my bedroom and I can just put hours and hours and hours into doing it and learning and developing and having fun and making stuff that didn't exist on the morning. Like I love the idea of getting up and going like, oh, what am I going to make today? And then by, you sit down at your laptop at like 10 o'clock, because let's face it, I'm a musician. Nothing ever starts before 10 o'clock, and 10 o'clock's even generous. And then by like 10 o'clock on the nighttime, something's came into the world that like just didn't exist before. It's like, it's crazy. And then I think when you're in the flow, I think like writing a song then like the next day you write another song, then you write another song, then you write another song. Sometimes when you've got like real life going on around you, like how everything's back to normal now, it's like, oh well, I've got a gig that day, and then I'm working that day, and then the next day I'm like seeing my friends, and then the day after that I'm doing this. So you can go like a few days without sitting down and writing a song, which then sometimes makes you, for me, makes you feel like you dry up a little bit, and you're like, my God, can I write a song? Do I write songs? Am I a songwriter? I don't know. But if you write a song the day before, it's like, oh shit, yeah, I can do this. So you get up the next day and you write another one, then you go, oh, that went well, I can do that. And then you get up the next day and write another one. I always like, at least now coming out of COVID, I always try to put a day aside, like one day a week, where I just try not make any plans and just go, on that day, I'm just going to write a song just to prove to myself that I can still do it. Because for some reason, really quickly, I can then start thinking that I just can't write songs. So you just got to get into the flow constantly.
I guess you don't want to fall into the habit of not doing it for a while either.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of like, yeah, you just almost like stop believing in it. But it's crazy because you'll write a song at the end of the day, especially in COVID, because this is the first time I felt like I got like properly prolific. And properly prolific, that's very that's a great term, isn't it? Properly prolific. Um, so I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Um, so if can you tell me a little bit about these songs in Courtney? Because of course nobody knows, which I think was your first single.
Kind of. There was some before that, but I took them down. Nobody knows it's hanging in there by a thread. That could be coming down soon. But it was from the old era of Courtney, that's for sure. Um, so yeah, kind of. It was a single at some point.
Still up there now though.
Still up there for now.
Because I was going to ask, can you tell me a little bit about these songs and the process it was like getting them out then after you started the hard work on them during COVID times and everything?
Yeah, for sure. So I think Nobody Knows actually came out during COVID, which was an interesting thing to do, release a song during a global pandemic, but we did it and it went okay. That song kind of came from a writing session and was just kind of kicking around for a while, and then I think I was just messing about with kind of um more pop influences, I think, at the time. So we came up with Nobody Knows and I put it out there. But the reason I'm saying is it's hanging in by a thread is because I feel like it doesn't really fit in with what I'm doing now. So I feel like I could take it down and I'm kind of working on a bit of a side project. So you never know, it could kind of get a bit reworked and put into the other like little side project I'm working on. But in terms of the other ones that are up there now, I feel like do embody kind of like where I'm going, you know, where the sound's at or whatever, just to give you a bit of an insight into the process. So what's up there now? So Bang Bang was kind of like what I felt like was the first single of that new kind of era of kind of going, oh, I've totally like figured out my sound now and I know what I want. So yeah, that song was written during COVID. I think I wrote the kind of the riff of it and stuff just, I'm sure, at our last band practice before COVID started. So I think the lads were running a little bit late. So I kind of was just messing about with this riff and then they got there and we kind of like jammed up this little idea thing. And then we went home and then we couldn't see each other again for a really long time. So that's when I kind of like started to demo out stuff for me and another guy in my band called Dave. We were kind of bouncing the project back and forward. So he was adding stuff onto it, sending it back to me. I was adding some vocals onto it, sending it back to him. He was adding some synths onto it. And we bounced it back and forwards. And then I think big deal, I was like sat in my house one night and I came up with this. I just loved making a racket basically. So I had my electric guitar plugged in to my amp and I came up with like the that like riff. And that song came together like really quick. I was listening loads at the time to Bon Iver. He's always forget the name of this album, although it's one of my favorite albums. I think it's 22 a Million is the name of the album because he's got funny names. He loves to name his songs in weird ways. But yeah, I think the album's called 22 Million, and I was listening loads to that album at the time, and I feel like I was very inspired by that. So I kind of came up with this like little drum beat in the chorus and put like an echo on it. So you kind of got like a kind of like effect. So I kind of had the whole song for Big Deal is just like an electric guitar part in the vocals, and then I kind of started to mess about with like drum beats and stuff. Demoed that up, and then so I had these like songs like sat on my hard drive, and it wasn't really until after COVID I was just like dying to get in to the practice room to work these songs up live with the band because I don't like although I love kind of like producing demos. And I've now realized that it's really important because I love playing live and I want all my drum beats to sound really like organic and I want them to be played how like a real drummer would be played instead of it just sounding like programmed drums. I want it to have like that feeling of live. I want it to feel like it speeds up a little bit and it slows down a little bit. Like, so it's got that bit of like humanness, like so it feels human and real. Um, so anyways, we started to like work them up for live and we did a few gigs and stuff when we could. And then I went in the studio, I went in a blank with John Martindale and we kind of started to record them with like live drums and stuff. And like that's when I started like really getting like guitar tones and be like, oh, this is a whole other world. I didn't really have many like guitar pedals and stuff at the time. And I was like, oh, right, this is cool. Like John was like, really like, would you say he would get on the floor and like get like loads of pedals out. And like we would just like mess about with all the knobs on them and like change the sounds. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, this. I like this. So that's kind of when I came up with those bunch of songs. And then we kind of just released them as singles. And I started to make the music videos for them that I do with Rob, who is a lad from Darlington, but he's extremely talented. I mean, Rob kind of became really good friends during COVID and started sending like little bits of like songs to mix, and we started to do little like acoustic videos and stuff like that. So as soon as we could, we were like, let's do some music videos for these. And yeah, the videos are kind of like just me and Rob, but we love to just get absolutely ridiculous with them, and we spend hours and hours and hours perfecting them because we're both perfectionists and feed each other's perfectionism, which sometimes is a good thing and sometimes is a bad thing if you want to go to bed to have some sleep. We love to stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning, shooting, recording, editing, and yeah, and never sleep. But yeah, and he kind of like did all my artwork for stuff. So it just felt like that's when things started to come together. And I felt like, okay, I kind of know who Cortney Dixon is. I know what she wants to put out into the world. This is cool. And then we started, I did In and Out, which was meant to be just like a really quick process because I kind of thought, oh my God, I'm slaving over these tracks, and they were taking like sometimes a year to finish and come out because I was just like, I'm not happy with it. It's not right. No, no, no. So In and
That's
Out was really,
expecting it.
yeah, her, and I was like, oh my God, I need to learn to just go. I've done the best with these songs that I can at that time with all my knowledge that I know right now, this is the best I can do with these songs. Release it and move on because holy shit, you can drive yourself mental. And I'm really learning that lesson, and it's so good for your creativity because you can just instead of getting hung up on one tiny little thing, you can just constantly just keep moving. And as a creative person, it's the best way to do it. I think you've got to strike a balance between the quality of what you're releasing. You've got to know hand on heart that it's the best thing that you could have done at the time with the amount of money that you have, with the amount of knowledge that you have, and with the people around you. Know that you've hand on heart done the best you can, and then go, okay, let's not slave over this anymore. Let's enjoy it for what it is and put it out and move on to the next thing. Um, so with In and Out, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to go in the studio and I want to have it recorded, and I want to have it like all produced up, and I want to have it mixed, and I want it to be done in 4 days. So went in the studio with the band, we recorded it like pretty live, and then kind of took it away, um, edited it with Luke. I think I did that one with Luke LG. We produced it up, we mixed it, and then I just got it sent off to get mastered. And we even made like quite a simple music video for that as well. Um, so yeah, that was like really good, like contrasting like process. And now I've kind of like not released anything for a little while, and I'm in the middle of making an EP, which I'm self-producing because I felt like I learned from working with the likes of Luke and John from Blank. It's like I learned loads from that, and now I'm just at the point where I'm like, I just want to be totally in control of kind of like producing stuff, and it's something I'd love to like get into doing more in the future, and maybe like producing stuff for other artists eventually and like other bands. So yeah, Rob's engineering it and I'm producing it, and then we're mixing it together. So it feels really cool. It's like it's proper hands-on, and we're recording all the drums and stuff in a studio that I rent in Newcastle. So it's like, getting your hands dirty, like setting up all the drum mics and stuff like that. So it feels good. It feels like organic, feels earthy, feels gritty. It's definitely grittier sounding EP and stuff, but more experimental. So I'm excited.
I was going to ask because I've seen the content on social media. Obviously, you've been hard at work on this project. So, is that what's next in the pipeline for Cortney Dixon then?
It sure is. So yeah, I've been working on it quite intensely since like December, January time, and I was really fortunate to get some money from PRS. So they've got a fund called um, Women Make Music. And I was actually really surprised I got it because it's like super, I don't want to say the word competitive, but there's a lot of people that apply to it. And then I think there's something like 8 people that get it or something. And I was like, oh God. When I heard that, I was like, why have I spent all my time writing out this application? I'm never gonna get it. And then they told us that I was successful, and I got the money, and I was like, holy shit, it means I can do this thing that I really want to do. Um, it's definitely like running a little, I wouldn't say it's running behind, but definitely thought it would be finished by now. But I just want it to be the best it can be, and I just really wanted to get super experimental and creative with it, and get my hands dirty and really like get into it and get like really cool guitar sounds and stuff. I'm like, The Clash. I want it to sound like The Clash. Obviously, if you know my voice, I sound fuck all like The Clash. Uh, so like the music has to be gritty because I sound like a 6-year-old girl. So we need some balance here.
Well, I can't wait to hear it. And how is that coming along now? I know you said it's taken a bit longer than you wanted it to, but how's it all looking at the moment?
It's going really well. We're just in the middle of recording the final couple of tracks, and then yeah, I would say like another couple of months, and then obviously we need to get it all mastered and figure out how I'm gonna release it and stuff like that. So that's all super exciting. But I've just wanted to get my head down really and just work just on the music side of stuff and not really get bogged down with the how am I going to release this? Like,
Yeah,
what should I do? What's the imagery going to be? I was like, just focus on the music and everything else will come.
I bet it's nice to not put that pressure on yourself.
It's actually amazing. It's
Yeah,
lush, and I just feel really free and just like enjoying making it. I mean, it's hard. Like it's hard, especially when it's just it's kind of like all lands on your head and you don't really have anyone making the decisions for you. It is difficult, but it's really good, and I feel like in complete control and um free. I feel really free to just create what I want, and especially I feel like I'm at a point where like, I'm at a stage in my career when like no one's waiting on stuff, like no one gives a shit, like if I release something or not. So it's like just take full advantage of that because you can definitely sometimes feel the pressure to just keep up with and I wonder if like other artists at my kind of like level feel the same because obviously you're not well known, you're not really making a living out of it. So all of a sudden you feel this pressure for people to just constantly be hearing you and seeing you and being out there and you feel like I'm never going to get anywhere if I'm not constantly releasing something. But it's like, is just making good music like that you're really proud of the most important thing? Like it probably is. So yeah, I feel definitely like realizing that hang on, there's no pressure, no one's waiting for a Cortney Dixon song. Like no one's like outside going, we want Cortney Dixon. So it's like, holy shit, like there's no pressure, just write what you want, do whatever the fuck you want and enjoy it. And I think when it
that's what
does
it should be.
eventually
That's what it should be about, enjoying it.
yeah. And like I think I think you have to enjoy the process and not feel like you're just doing it because you feel like you need to be relevant, need to be out there all the time. Because regardless what happens in your career, whether, you know, you have a little bit of success or it never goes anywhere, I think you really need to be able to look back on this period of time of going, yeah, but you know what? I had a really fucking good time and I really
Yeah.
enjoyed making that music and I really enjoyed playing those gigs. I was having after COVID. I had this bizarre thing that happened to us where I was getting on stage and I was having these like, well, at first I thought I was just really unfit and out of breath. So I started going on these like big runs and like running up and down steps every morning. And I was like, nah, I'm not unfit. Like, and also I can do our set loads of times round in rehearsals. It turned out what I was having was like little mini panic attacks on stage where I was having to sing for half an hour and not be able to breathe at all. And it was weird. And I've never had them before and I didn't know what they were. And I wouldn't really say I was like an overly anxious person or anything. So they came out the blue and I just wasn't really enjoying doing gigs because I was just thinking, am I going to be able to breathe during that gig? Like, oh my God. So my body was just having this strange thing happen to it. So, anyways, Christ knows what was going on. So I had to like really sort it out. And I was like, I'm going to stand on as many stages as possible until I can just relax and enjoy being there again. Because I always used to love performing. And performance is such a big thing of what I do because I write songs that I feel like I can go, oh, that would be really fun at a festival to play. Like I could hear people like if they know it, I could hear people singing along to that bit, or I could teach the crowd that bit. Like those are the type of songs that I enjoy writing. So then to not really be able to do that to my full potential was really frustrating. And then eventually I just thought, what are you scared of? Like, what you scared that you might forget your lyrics or that, I don't know, the SBD breaks and no one can hear the tracks because we're a three-piece band, so whatever we can't cover between the three of us kind of like goes on track. Like, or the track breaks or whatever. And I just thought, but it doesn't matter because no one else really gives a crap. And in 10 years' time, you're just going to look back and think, I wish I had just really enjoyed playing that festival instead of worrying about it.
Yeah.
So that was a really big thing when I realized that, just going, oh my God, just enjoy it. And I supported Johnny Marr at Middlesbrough Empire, and it was honestly today the absolute highlight of anything I've ever done. He was amazing. He was lush to meet. And we played really well, but I was shitting my pants because I just thought, oh my God, like it's like a sold out like Empire, like what happens if I can't breathe? What happens if I go on and I can't breathe? And then I think like someone in my band was just like, you might never get an opportunity like this again. So why just go out and
Embrace
just
them.
chill out and just enjoy it? And I was like, oh shit, yeah. As soon as that, I was just like, just gonna have a good time.
That's where we first seen you, and of course you got a fantastic crowd as well, and it was a
Oh,
great
is that when you
set.
first seen her?
Yeah,
Ah, shit, no way.
yeah, that was the first time we seen you last year at the Empire. That was that was a fantastic gig. How did it come together then? How did you kind of get asked to support him?
It was so random. Just one of the lads that worked there just messaged and just said, "Do you want to support Johnny Marr on this date?" And I remember being at work and I was like, "Eh?" You know anything? And is that a real message? Is this a robot taking the
That's not
piss
a
out of
text that
me?
many not a text
Yeah.
that many people get.
Yeah, is someone trying to make a mug at me? Like, what the hell? Um, so I just replied in, yeah. I hadn't even checked if I was available or if the band was, but I just thought,
Cancel all other plans.
everyone cancel. I don't give a shit if you're going Disneyland, mate. Cancel your plans. We're supporting Johnny Marr. Um, so I was just like, yes. And I was like, okay, now we'll see if I'm available. Uh, and lucky enough, we all were. So it was just so random, like the most randomest thing ever. But sometimes the best things are they're just so out the blue. You can't predict them. You just have to say yes to them when they do come.
That it must have felt very surreal for you, anyways.
Yeah, crazy. And like,
Get
you know,
that.
like huge fan like the Smiths and stuff as well. So I was just like, holy shit. And I love him as a guitarist. I went and seen him again the other day at the City Hall actually. And
We were there. We
were
were
you
there.
were
Yeah.
you
Was it?
oh,
Hang on. Was it the second?
uh
Um. I think will it have been 2 weeks tomorrow?
yeah, yeah,
That yeah.
that probably would have
We
been
were
it.
there. Yeah.
It was good, wasn't it? It was really
Yeah.
fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never disappoints. He's always fantastic.
Nah, do you know what? Like I watched him do his sound check and all of his other band like left. Obviously went Weatherspoons or something. And he kind of just like got brought a cup of tea, and he was just stood on stage like tweaking like each one of his guitar sounds, and like must just been like tweaking it like for the room and just like making sure they all sounded amazing. I was like, I love the effort that goes into that. I just think he's such a good guitarist. Like it always sounds mint. He's such like he's not like a showy offy guitarist, like, oh, look what I can do. But everything he does just sounds lush and serves the purpose of the track really well. Do you know what I mean? I seen him, funny enough.
Yeah.
Um, I supported him, and then I think a week later, I went and seen PJ Harvey in Manchester, and she was like, "Now I'm going to introduce my friend Johnny Marr on stage," and I was like, "Eh, no way,
That was weird.
this guy's fucking everywhere at the minute. Like he's everywhere. He does everything."
You can't escape him.
Nah, you can't. He's taken over the world.
Yeah, I've seen loads of them for people have brought him on stage and everything, but no, it must have been a fantastic opportunity for you. And on the topic of gigs, can you tell people what's coming up for you this year, Courtney?
Yes, let us get my notes out because you know I made some notes. So on the 22nd of June, I'm playing the Amphitheatre in South Shields. Uh, Proper home gig. If anyone is from Shields, it's outdoors, and if the weather's nice, it's always a mint time. Everyone brings their cans, and just gets a bit pissed. If it's raining, it's the worst gig ever. Um,
But
so
that's the case for any gig, isn't it? Really,
yeah,
nobody
so
wants
let's
rain, especially in the summer.
yeah, exactly. So let's pray for the sun. And on the 17th of August, we're playing at Hardwick Live on the main stage, which I'm very,
Great
very excited
festival.
about. Um, So, oh yeah, is it called Hardwick Festival or
That's
Hardwick
it.
Live?
Yeah,
Why am I
I
calling it
think
Hardwick Live?
I think people call it anything really.
Oh, it's Hardwick something. It's Hardwick. It's live music in Hardwick.
Yeah,
I should check out what that is probably. No, yeah, that'll be class day, class day. But yeah, I think we're gonna like do some headline stuff towards, at the end of the year, maybe try put together like some gigs around the country. But at the minute I'm kind of just head down, focusing on the recordings and the EP. And then then we'll get properly out gigging again, hopefully.
at least you've got a few nice things lined up until you kind of get the new stuff out and then plan more gigs anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think the main thing Soul's got to just be get the tunes and then yeah, figure
Plan
out
more.
everything else. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for chatting with me, Courtney. And can you tell people where they can find you on social media?
You sure can. So you can get us at Cortney Dixon on Instagram, uh Cortney Dixon on Facebook. Uh I think everything's just Cortney Dixon, really. I think Twitter's Dixon Courtney, but you don't need to get us on there because I never use it. Um, but yeah, the thing that catches everyone out is Courtney spelled a bit funny, so it's Cortney. Doesn't have the U because my mum and dad want to make my life a bit more difficult when they made my name. Well, not made it, but decided to spell it different. So yeah, it's Courtney without the U and Dixon with an X.
Amazing. Well, Courtney, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been lovely
Oh,
chatting, and
thank you. It's been lush.
hopefully we'll do it very soon when the new stuff comes out.
Yeah, let's do it again for sure. And that can bore you talking about all the new stuff as well.